Okay, it is Prospect Day here on the baseball
Prospect
show.
Day.
You are watching Nickel Press TV, home of YouTube's fastest growing fantasy baseball show. We want to thank you, the viewer, for not only viewing, but for liking, leaving your comments, and more importantly, subscribing to the channel. So please continue to do so. If you are a new viewer and have not yet subscribed, stop, hit pause, hit subscribe, resume play. We're going to get into three prospects today, three pitching prospects, some guys that people have been clamoring for us to cover. We're finally getting into some of the most requested players. We're going to talk about Robert Gsellman, Jarrell Cotton, and maybe not so many people have been clamoring for this guy, but they should have been, Yohander Mendez. Before we get into that real quick, I just want to say check out the player library playlist. You can find everybody we've covered to this point isolated individually on their own in alphabetical order. So you can just scroll through, pick and choose, find out your player of desire, see what Ralph and I had to say about him. I'm Andy Singleton. That's Ralph Lifshitz. Follow us anywhere you do your social media. We're there. Just look for Nickel Press TV. You can find us. And, let's get into three prospects. What do you say? Okay.
Let's do it, baby.
Robert Gsellman is the heir apparent. Get it? Heir apparent? I said heir. I meant to say hair. He's the heir apparent to the Mets. I think that this is really Johnny Baseball moonlighting as the next big Met gun. And if you don't know who Johnny Baseball is, just search for him on YouTube. They look like identical twins. We're going to talk about him as a prospect on this show because this is a prospect show and because he's still under his limits as a major leaguer. But this is a guy you need to start targeting now for this year, for 2017. He's currently listed as the Mets' fifth starter to start the season, yet he's flying under the radar almost entirely in redraft leagues, as in he's not even being drafted at all. Like, that is insane to me. If and when Zach Wheeler is ready to resume a full workload, Gsellman is good enough to hold him off. And yes, I mean that. He gets Ks. He doesn't walk a ton. He almost never gives up the long ball. Most impressively was the guts he showed down the stretch as he took the ball every fifth day when the Mets were desperately looking for wins to stay in the playoff race. And not only did he, pitch the part, he absolutely thrived. He was sensational. His ERA was 2.42 and his FIP was 2.63. So in other words, it was all legit. It was, it's not just a flash in the pan. There wasn't any luck, with that. This is something he's been showing at every stage of him climbing through the levels of the minor leagues. And he's now here. And he's just not getting the fanfare he deserves because of Steven Matz, Jacob deGrom, Noah Syndergaard, Matt Harvey, the aforementioned Zach Wheeler. It's just insane to me, though. But this guy is the goods. So this is one of your favorite guys. I know this. And I know you're excited to talk about this guy. You've been waiting to talk about this guy since the first episode we did. So, how about it?
Sure. So, I'm in a dynasty league with Andy, a couple of readers, some other folks, and he's one of the guys that I grabbed in my expansion draft because I love Gsellman. Just across the board, there's so many things that this guy improved on in 2016 that made him take the next step. I think he's a better pitcher than Zach Wheeler. I think he's far more reliable at this point than Wheeler and banking on his health. You know that Wheeler and Matz and some of those other guys, Harvey, Syndergaard, deGrom, they all have health concerns. So I think that he has a great chance that this guy ends up seeing 25 plus starts, maybe even makes the full 32, breaks camp as part of the rotation as their number 5, and a very strong number 5 is that. One of the things that makes him one of my early favorites for NL Rookie of the Year and one of my favorite rookie pitchers heading into 2017 is some of the things that he made tweaks on. Number one, he has an elite ground ball rate, 56% ground ball rate across all levels. It was 55% in his 44 innings in the majors last year. He's got a good fastball with sink, obviously. That's where he's generating a lot of that weak contact, that ground ball contact with. The pitch sits 93, 96, so he can get some swing and misses on it. It's got excellent movement. He's able to throw it for a strike and get swings and misses and throw it out of the zone. But the big thing he took a step forward with last year was his secondary offerings. He throws an above-average curveball to begin with. He has an average changeup and a fringe slider the changeup really took a step forward last year. As he was throwing that a lot more in terms of out of the zone, getting folks to chase a lot more out of the zone. Had a 30.5% O swing rate, which is the swing rate for pitches outside the zone. He also he gets quite a bit of swings on pitches, a 68% swinging rate, not a swing strike rate. Swing strike rate is about 9.1%. While very good, obviously that's not elite quite yet. But you couple it all together with weak contact, improving stuff, a varied arsenal of pitches that he's able to throw all for strikes, and the swing and miss stuff is getting a lot better. I think that's a high floor pitcher. There's a lot of similarities between him and Kyle Hendricks, in my opinion, and I think that's ultimately what his upside is a Kyle Hendricks type pitcher.
And you can basically, not basically, in redraft, you can get him for free because literally nobody is drafting him right now. And it makes zero sense. I had him picked up in one of my dynasty leagues last year. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to keep him because you can't keep players you've added, after September call-ups.
Sure.
And he just went, I want to say, 5th overall in the rookie and minor league draft, a draft that includes every rookie drafted, or every major prospect drafted, Nick Senzel, Jason Groom, all those guys, including Eric Thames, Yoeli Gurriel, guys like that. All of those guys, and he went 5th overall. So that just kind of shows you how this is becoming a dynasty asset in a lot of places. Ralph mentioned how he took him. And this is not a guy that should be looked at as a dynasty stash and hold kind of guy. This is a guy that's going to make an impact this season. And you can get him right now in redraft to start the season. It's not get him and hold him and he's going to come up in a couple months. No, he's going to start from day one as the 5th guy in the Mets rotation. So do yourself the favor, invest in some Gsellman, and go check out who Johnny Baseball is and you'll see what I'm talking about. Jarrell Cotton. Oh, man, where do we go with Jarrell Cotton? He's being drafted as the 70th starting pitcher in redraft leagues, 258th overall. That puts him in the middle of the 21st round. Now, at that value, I think there's tremendous upside. However, I'm cautioning people to beware when it comes to Jarrell Cotton. It's not that he can't be a good pitcher, but the hype surrounding him right now, to me, is a little premature. It's been noted that the move to Oakland is a good one for his repertoire. And, truth be told, the Dodgers and the A's development staffs aren't exactly worlds apart. So it's not like moving to Oakland is going to completely change who he is as a pitcher. Sure, the park helps somewhat. And while his career minor league numbers are pretty to look at, especially his K rate, K per 9 rate of over 10, throughout pretty much every stop he's made. His major league debut showed some flaws behind that luster. His strikeout total took a bit of a tumble. He gave up an alarming number of home runs. And despite that, he still finished with a 2.12 ERA and a 0.82 whip. I mean, those are just sparkling numbers. But it's such a small sample size, just 29 innings thrown. So if you want to accept the good, you have to also be willing to accept the bad. And again, it was a small sample size, but he gave up too many home runs, and his K rate dropped to mid-7s from what was once always over a 10. So he can very much be a serviceable major league arm and on the better half of that. But if the Ks per 9 is just average at this level, and if he's gonna, if the Ks, stay where they are now that he's in the majors, he's gonna have to repeat on his control of 1.23 walks per 9 that he showed in his major league debut. And he's been much closer to a 3 per 9 walks guy throughout his entire career. So I don't know that that's repeatable. And all that spells not what people want to think he's going to blossom into.
Sure, and I think there's some people that are incredibly high on Cotton, and I can understand being wary on that. But when you look at the fact that he's the 70th pitcher off the board, he's going, in the same range as somebody that we talked about recently on 3 pitchers with DeSclafani. I think I'd rather own Cotton because of the upside. This is another guy that's coming from that Dodgers player development organization. They do a great job developing pitchers. He's also another guy, much like Jose De Leon, that was a late round, 20th plus round find for the Dodgers. They cashed in on it when they needed to make a playoff push. Obviously, they were able to re-sign Rich Hill, but not Josh Reddick. But both needed players, and I can see why they made that deal. He's a good fit in Oakland, and I think for a few reasons. Though he is a little homer prone, he's definitely a fly ball pitcher. That fits well with his dimensions. He's somebody that gets an extreme amount of pop-ups and weak fly balls as well, so I think that helps. He's not somebody that's going to be relying on Oakland's infield defense as a ground ball pitcher, which is pretty poor. So I think that's also going to help him a little bit. The outfield defense is much better than the infield defense for Oakland. But he's also a guy that's been missing bats throughout his career. He's shown the ability to get, elite strikeout numbers. I don't know if that necessarily continues. It certainly peeled back a little bit upon his debut, which is about a few weeks after he was traded to Oakland. But there are some great trends. I mean, he has a nice arsenal of pitches that he throws all of them for strikes. He's got a fastball that he has a few different grips on. Throws it as a four-seamer. Also has a two-seamer grip and a cutter. Throws them all from the same release point as his very good changeup, which might be his best pitch. Actually has a lot of screwball movement. Take that, Brett Honeywell. You're not the only guy with a screwball type pitch. Cotton has one as well. He's a bit homer prone, like you said, but as I said, there's some good and some bad there. He's going to let up some long fly balls when he misses on the pitch, but he's also going to get a lot of weak pop-ups, weak ground balls, that sort of thing. He's somebody that I'm definitely taking a late round flyer on in all formats, but he's not somebody that I'm going to, trade a higher grade prospect that might be a little bit further off for in Dynasty. He's somebody that I'm willing to take a chance on. I don't like him as much as Gsellman. But he is definitely still somebody that I do like. I'm a Cotton fan. There's some good stuff there, especially when you look at what the investment is.
You kind of alluded to it. It's more of a dynasty concern when it comes to Cotton, and I guess that would be probably the reason you're watching a show titled Three Prospects. But when I say just the fact that he's a 70th starting pitcher in redraft kind of shows you what his dynasty value is, that people are, placing a premium on him. People want him. People are taking him. 21st round is not, depending on how deep you go, it's still on the majority of rosters. So in dynasty leagues, given his youth, even though he's 25 now, more so his limited exposure, there's still kind of the allure and the illusion of what he could be. People are jacking up the price on him, as they should be, because the demand is there. But if you're one of the guys not owning him and are looking to acquire him, all I'm saying is, pump the brakes slightly. He still could be very good, but I wouldn't, like you said, go all out giving up a top grade prospect to get this guy. If you have like an Anderson Espinosa who's still like 2 years away, and the guy's saying, I'll give you Cotton for Espinosa, I don't know that I would do that. But, it's kind of, the point I'm trying to make with that. So,
exactly.
That's kind of, I think, what Ralph and I are both agreeing to with Cotton. So for everybody that's been asking, do Jarrell Cotton, I hope we satisfied your taste buds and your desires for Jarrell Cotton. Let me pause it there. All right.
The touch, the feel of Cotton?
Yes. Well, now you're just making it sound like desires. But anyway, Yohander Mendez. We need a nickname for this guy because I say Yohander, and there's got to be something there. We'll come up with it. Maybe by the end of the show. All right. One can only say that Mendez was rushed through the Texas Rangers system in 2016. Mm-hmm. Prior to last year, the 6'5" lefty had only made it to single A. He started 2016 in high A, dominated. Moved up to double A, was very good. Got sent to triple A, was pretty good. And then he hit the superfecta with 3 September innings in Texas, where he basically fell flat on his face. Now, these were all relief appearances, which he's done throughout his career. He hasn't been predominantly a starter. But, you see sometimes a lot of minor leaguers do that. It's just about throwing more so than when they come into a game. But there's a lot to like about Mendez. He's just turned 22. He's still young and very raw in his development, as he's only logged 100 innings in the season once, which was last year, and he's only got 292 on his arm in his life. But he's already made it to the pros as a 22-year-old. He's still 6'5". He's a lefty. He controls his walks. He doesn't give up home runs, and he knows how to dial it up to get a K. So he's been pretty quietly going under the radar on the national scene. But that figures to change emphatically over the next few months. You're starting to see him creep into some top 100 lists, more like in the 60 range on average. And that is, in my opinion, going to jump up tremendously, maybe even as high as a top 20 guy if he remains in the minors and doesn't lose his prospect eligibility by pitching, a number of innings for the big league club this season. So if for some strange reason he's still available, pause right now, add him, then come back and resume playing this. But if he's someone you should be inquiring about trading for, if that's the question you're asking, absolutely, yes. Go start making some proposals after you subscribe to this channel and finish watching this episode. Ralph, are you a Honda Mendez fan? Are you saying,
Absolutely.
give me some Honda?
Yes. I am definitely a Mendez fan. He's somebody that we spoke about in depth on the Razzball Prospect podcast with my good buddy Michael Halpern of Imaginary Brick Wall this past weekend. Wrote about him on Sunday over at Razzball. He was my number one prospect in the Rangers system, and it's an organization that is thirsty and needs a pitching prospect to break through and make an impact. I think that Mendez, while he's one of the top left-handed pitching prospects in all of the minors, certainly someone that had a meteoric rise last year, going all the way from high A to the major leagues by the end of the season. He's somebody that's more of a mid-rotation type, a high floor pitcher, and there's some reasons for that. Doesn't give up a whole lot of hard contact. He has an elite changeup that he mixes with a relatively good fastball. The fastball is solid, but I think a lot of it plays up because of how good that changeup is. He's able to keep hitters off balance. He's got easy, repeatable mechanics. That's an indicator of somebody that's going to continue to throw strikes no matter what level he's at. I think he's got a bit of a rubber arm, so I think that as they start to pile on the innings, it's not going to be an issue. He's got the frame to handle it. I think the bullpen risk has subsided. This guy is going to be a starter going forward. He's somebody that could log big innings for the Rangers this year, especially if he makes some nice adjustments at AAA, which is where I expect him to start the season. He's somebody that could be in the Rangers rotation by June, really making an impact, or at worst toward the end of the season as a bump in the bullpen. But he could stand to improve the command on the fastball a little bit. I think if he can do that, if he can sequence a little bit better, we could be seeing him maybe jump into the conversation as a number 2 type of starter. But at this point, I think he's a very solid number 3 starter, and somebody that I'm definitely willing to own in dynasty leagues. And I think you're banking on the high floor there more so than a high ceiling.
Just to kind of give you a little perspective, he kind of, not you, but those watching, he kind of was like a lighter version of what Josh Hader did, and everybody knows what Josh Hader did at this point, just dominating and just rising rapidly because he was just basically handling every assignment thrown his way. Mendez did pretty much the exact same thing. Maybe not the same elite numbers, especially K numbers.
Not the strikeouts. Yeah, not the strikeouts.
But other than that, everything across the board was right in line. So that's how good this guy is. And like I said, he's currently dropped to in the 60 range for prospects. So if you got a dynasty team, you should be saying, give me some Honda. No, that wasn't that good. So we'll work on that one. Anyway, that is
the Yo-Hander?
Yo-Hander. Sure, there you go. But I don't know if we can do a animation on a T-shirt, but we'll see.
No.
We'll make a GIF out of it.
Bendy Mendy?
Sorry, a GIF. So that's going to wrap up our 3 prospects. I just want to point out some quick notes. I want to make sure I do this at the end, not at the beginning, in case you're ready to tune us out right now. We've figured out what we're going to do. We're going to do 99 players in total for this series, with the player profile previews. And then we're going to get into our regular season programming, which is going to be a live show on Tuesday nights. And then we'll whittle that down and wrap it up into a 20-minute highlight show that we'll put out on Thursday. So we want to thank everybody that's been tuning in, watching us. After we finish the 99 that we have scheduled, we're going to go and do some bonus special episode where we'll cover everybody that's been asked to us specifically that we haven't gotten to in the series. So if you have anybody that you still haven't seen us cover yet, please don't stop sending in your requests and your submission. And please don't stop watching the videos, liking them, leaving your comments in general. Also, if you're watching these and you haven't subscribed, please do us a favor and just hit subscribe right now. We are currently the fastest growing fantasy baseball show on YouTube. That is the legit fact, and we have you to thank for it, so we really do appreciate it. Last but not least, don't forget to check out the player library playlist. Everybody we've covered right there, alphabetized, isolated on their own. You can go and check out anybody that you want to know more about, or at least know what Ralph and I think about them. And if you're on social media, any form of fashion, Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, Reddit, you name it, we're there as well. Just search for Nickel Press TV. If you only like to listen to audio, iTunes, Stitcher, we're there as well. Just search Nickel Press TV wherever you are. I'm out of words. We'll see you next time.